I think one of the things that deeply shaped me was this continuous need or this hunger to learn. It really helps you to kind of grow intellectually. What all of us forget sometimes is that there is a greater objective to doing business. It's not just about squeezing the last penny out. One of the things that I see this generation essentially lacking is patience. In the world of quick commerce and the need for quick gratification, we sometimes lose sight of the bigger picture in the longer term. I think it's essential for this generation to cultivate those habits early because they will hold them in good stead for the long term.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. I just have a favor to ask before we begin. If you've been enjoying these conversations and want more stories that redefine success, please do us a massive favor and hit the subscribe button over on our YouTube channel. It literally takes 2 seconds to do and is completely free. It's a small gesture, but it makes a massive difference for us as it really helps us to grow the show. And with that, let's get into the episode. All right, welcome back to the Quest for Success podcast, and thanks for tuning in once again. Today on the show, we have another international entrepreneur. We're joined by Harsh Bansal, who is the managing director of BMW Industries Limited, which is a steel producer over in India, and so much more, which I haven't even scratched the surface of. But I'm really looking forward to diving into his story and understanding more about him and the work he does.
Yeah, Harshan and I, we share the same corridor at the Harvard Business School and had the privilege of studying with him, especially at the year 2. We were living group members. And so I got to know him quite well. And but it's about to understand a bit deeper and share his story. Thank you, Harsh, joining.
Pleasure, Zam. Thank you, Dylan, for having me.
So Harsh, I know you've listened to a few of the episodes, and so this podcast is all about success. And so I need to start with a very fundamental question, and that is, what does success actually mean to you?
Actually, I anticipated that question to begin with. And I did think about it, and all that really came to mind was, at the end of the day, we are healthy. We've got a family which is healthy. We've got work. We've got food on the table. We are grateful. And in India, and much like Sri Lanka, Jan, we have these large joint families where we have the privilege of living with our parents, our children, and our children get to grow up with their grandparents, pass on generational knowledge, wisdom, learnings. And so there's, at a very fundamental level, like you said, that's what success to me is here. And of course, one can look at the work side, and you can look at growth, ambition, money in the bank. But for a lot of those things, there is a second side, which is how much do you really want, and compared to what you have. So yeah, I would guess there's a little bit of happiness and success kind of intertwined over there, and so yeah, that's what success is.
So it's largely around that happiness and connection with the people around you.
Yes, I mean, isn't that what life is pretty much all about, right?
Yeah. So, sometimes the little things, right? Little things, what matters, and I totally get
it. Grateful to have a business to get to every morning, work to contribute in a lot of ways to the well-being of the people that work with us, to the economy, to the country, and grateful.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Harsh, for us to understand the man that we're talking to, I'd love to go back to your early life. And if you could, describe to us your early upbringing and how you think that period of your life and your parents shaped who you've become.
Again, going back to the early days, I'm a product of a large joint family. My grandparents, uncles, aunts, all the cousins growing up together. Before I went to a boarding school for about 12 years, which is the normal school time in India. Coming back, joining the family business, learning from again all the uncles and father and the conversations that we had. I think one of the things that deeply shaped me was this continuous need or this hunger to learn, and which is why I ran into Jam at Harvard. Uh, so it's been almost 25 years where I try to take about a week, 10 days off every year to
Mhm.
kind of contribute to uh, my learning needs. So it could be the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. It could be the LBS in London. Of course, Harvard was the big one, but I am in Ahmedabad, and there are a lot of things that we don't know. So
Mhm.
taking a week away a year is not that big a deal if it really helps you to kind of grow intellectually. And so that's something which is very dear to me, important to me, and. I read a lot. I would like to think I read a lot, but of late I've kind of switched to Audible, which is a great platform for listening to the stuff I want to read
Mhm.
because I can consume a lot more that way.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's about me. I'm married last 22 years, and we have three lovely children. The eldest is at Drexel in Philadelphia. He graduates next year.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if Jam, you got to meet him at the graduation.
Yeah.
Uh, and the youngest is a daughter who's 11. The middle is 14 boy. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
happiness and success.
So, Harsh, that learning mindset, like, you mentioned that you every year you spend some time to sharpening your sword, like doing some learning. How did you get that? Like, what's your background? Is that came from your family, your parents valued education, or we want to go a little bit back to your childhood and understand your.
I think Jam, largely that, I do, my father has been a voracious learner. He attended OPM in, I think, 1999 or 2000.
Wow.
Couldn't complete it for various reasons. But so, yeah, I mean, it's fair to say that a lot of this comes from being around people who value the learning.
Mm. And Harsh, you mentioned, before that it was amazing growing up in such a connected family. But then you went off to boarding school, and 12 years, that's a long time. I'd love to get your perspective on how important you think that period being kind of separated was to build your independence.
So, of course, on the independent side, it's great because it kind of lets you be your own person. It gets you to value what you think is right. It kind of builds character because it's so easy to get uh, distracted. Uh, it exposes you to the good and the bad of the peer pressures extremely early in life, and it kind of takes you away from that protected environment which we all value so much at home, right? The negative side of that, I now feel every once in a while, is it does make you a little less emotional. Uh, it does, in some way, make you, I wouldn't say detached, but difficult to express emotions.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I mean, that's the one big negative that I can think of.
Mm. Mm. And you, were you like born to a larger family? What's your early childhood like? Just take us through to where early days.
So
And
considering them, I went to boarding in class one or two, I think one. Uh,
yeah.
my only memories of home are playing with my cousins out in the open. Uh, we used to have cows, dogs at home, and so spending a lot of time outdoors, climbing trees, and all of that. Every opportunity, and when you have a joint family like that, in some ways. Aunts are like mothers, right? So you
Yeah.
have the benefit of having multiple parents, learning from multiple sets of people. And so, yeah, that's, I mean,
Mhm.
not much beyond that for early
Yeah.
childhood, yeah.
Yeah.
And Harsh, once you've finished your boarding school, was it always the expectation that you would come back in and take over the family business, or while you were there, did you think about doing other things?
I've been very active on the art side, which now takes the form of photography. But yeah, growing up in that environment, the only conversations you have are about the business. And of course, it was a large family. You can imagine, grandparents, two uncles, aunts, parents, six cousins. Uh, but I wouldn't say that the expectation was to join the family business. It was, I think we were all given the freedom to do whatever we want, but this is all we knew.
Yeah.
Uh, in terms of, so Calcutta has a very unique culture of morning college. Uh, so our college typically starts from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then post 10 a.m. you go to work.
Oh,
And
right.
so for me, the post 10 a.m. work was accompanying my uncles to the factories or, just sitting around and learning what they were talking about, meetings, how they dealt with people, negotiated, and everything else. So in some way you kind of get fed into it
Mm.
without realizing that you do have a choice. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And Harsh, how important do you think that experience was of actually, going in and following your uncles and your
oh,
dad?
phenomenal.
Yeah, compared to like schooling though, right? Like seeing it in real life, was that, a game changer for you?
Absolutely, because there's a very famous book. I forget the author's name about what they don't teach you at Harvard, right, Jan? And this is a lot of the stuff that they don't teach you at Harvard.
Yeah.
How do you treat people? The softer aspect of doing
Mhm.
business. Every once in a while, you do let go of money on the table because there is a bigger, let's say, a relationship at stake, or
Mhm.
there is business that you would rather do with a certain person than lose it. And a lot of these things, and you do turn around and ask, let's say, my grandfather or uncles or father, that why did you do that? And that's how things get explained to you, that it's
Yeah.
not about that last penny or that last dollar, but it's about maintaining that relationship because this is a person that we want to deal with well into the future.
Yeah.
uh, and those things are what kind of shape your early experiences and your learning, and they kind of become the bedrock of everything that you kind of build on upon later.
Mm-hmm.
uh, there is a very interesting thing that one of our professors told us at HBS, which was, Jam, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think
Sure.
it was to make decent money decently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are lots of ways to make money, but
Mm-hmm.
would you do that? Would you smuggle? Would you do crimes? Would you
Mm.
extort?
Mm.
Not, right? I mean,
Mm.
that's basic. Now, how about taking this a little further into the legal zone and say, how do you build long-term trust
Yeah.
that people prefer to deal with you even at the cost of short-term profits?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what all of us forget sometimes is that there is a longer vision, there is a longer purpose, there is a greater objective to doing business. It's not just about squeezing the last penny out.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so that's that.
Yeah, yeah. So Harsh, tell us about a little bit about BMW Industries. Who actually started the business, and what actually BMW Industries do?
So I'm sure a lot of your listeners would probably be wondering about the name, and I like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
joke that this is one way that people will remember the name. But just going back to the founding of the company, it was called Bansal Mechanical Works way back in '81, and closer to 2000 we had entered. And as you can imagine, I graduated from school in '96. My cousins joined work starting '97. My brother '98, and things like that. And so one of the things that our parents, father, uncles, and everybody had thought was that, well, joint families typically fail because families grow faster than business,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So suddenly you have more people managing less
Yep.
work. And there are bound to be frictions, there are bound to be confrontations, and that ultimately destroys the family. And so, one of the things that that generation started to work upon was expanding the businesses that we did at that time. And so, starting from pure steel, we moved into, let's say, ceramic, bricks, and building roads and highways and infrastructure, and telecommunication infrastructure, and LPG cylinders and things like that. And the idea was that as the next generation, the six of us joined business, there would be enough for everybody. The playing field would grow, the pie would grow, and there would be enough for each of us to kind of do. And because a lot of these businesses had nothing to do with mechanical
Yeah.
nature, uh, and this was before the car brand was in India. It was decided by the family to shorten the name just for ease of being more generic. And it stuck around because obviously it's a name that people remember.
Yeah.
So that's the organization. Uh, in 2000, the family decided to kind of vertically demerge, with my father and my uncles all looking at various functions of the business top to bottom. And so the company transitioned to essentially being a steel services provider, what we do
Uh-huh.
today. And we don't make steel, uh, we don't buy or sell steel. We essentially value add on steel for
Uh-huh.
our customers, which are large steel players. In our case, a major customer is Tata Steel. And they give us the semis and the raw materials, and we process the steel to make it more ready to consume. Uh, God has been kind. We've grown, and everybody, all the entire family, we've grown substantially since the days uh, of the demerger. Our next phase, or let's say the next chapter, is playing out now, where we are setting up an independent facility uh, with an expenditure of close to $100 million before the rupee devalued further, where we will once again do what we know. And so this is kind of our zone of competence of cold rolling, galvanizing, galvalume, steel, color coating, tubes and pipes, and things like that. So, and once again, you go back to 2000, we have our next generation, which will start joining the business in a few years. And so we need a larger playing field for them. And so, yeah, that's where we find ourselves today.
Yeah, yeah. So, in terms of just to understand a bit more, like what kind of products that you actually you mentioned the value added, right? Like, just give me an
Correct.
example of a product that you do.
So, for example, we manufacture pipes and tubes,
Uh huh.
the ERW pipes and tubes, which are used for water transportation, various structural purposes, fabrication, engineering, uh, things like that. We manufacture construction rebars, which I think you'll all know that goes into concrete construction,
All right.
things like that. And then we operate a cold rolling and galvanizing unit where we convert hot rolled steel to cold rolled steel, and then to galvanized steel, and then to corrugated roofing sheets. Now, to bring it all together, we also have complementary services like large warehousing facilities for steel, logistics backup with our own fleet of long haul trailers and trucks. And so basically, the idea is to uh, how do you value add and make the steel more consumer friendly
Mm-hmm.
from what is bulk produced in the steel plants. India India has been growing, and we have a very ambitious target to get to about 300 billion tons of steel over the next, let's say, half a decade. And this will mean that the steel will also have to be processed in a consumer friendly way where it becomes more accessible to the larger population, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ready to use, if I may say that. We do have smaller, fragmented facilities across the country, but because these are highly capital intensive and they take a lot of money, it becomes essential that we do the entire process efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what we kind of bring to the table is, a one-stop shop offering all services at a single kind of location, and the flexibility to do what you want with the steel to make it more consumer friendly.
And
Amazing.
yeah, that's very cool. And Harsh, I'm always fascinated by family businesses, especially large ones like yours. How do you
So we are
guys?
actually, sorry, Dylan, but we are actually not a very large
Sorry, I
business
meant
in the
like a
Indian
large
context. We are,
family.
yeah, yes.
Like I want to understand how you balance that, striving for business excellence, but then also working with your family, and like how you make that work.
So, I'm going to look at your example over here, right? You've got a father and son running this wonderful podcast together, but there are certain rules which you may have put on paper, but there is
Mm-hmm.
also an organic way for those rules to kind of develop.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, who will do what? Who will drive the conversations? Who will ask certain questions? Who will hold the other one back? Because one has a tendency of kind of speaking things that should not be said, and so on and so forth. So, just taking it in our context, it's my father who turned 70 recently, my brother who's a year younger to me, and myself. But I think what we've managed to do in some way, part of it is organized, written down, structured. Part of it is unstructured. And there are things which I am good at, which I look after, and there are things my brother does much better.
Mm.
So I defer to him on that.
Yeah.
And of course, we have the, let's say the luxury and the privilege of having our father around. So whenever we do need to run to him with our tail between our legs and say, oh, this is something that we can't figure out or struggling with, he's there to guide us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah.
Yeah. So one thing, can you share, like, coming from your father, you thought that's a legacy, like we need to protect, or sort of key to the business success, I guess.
So, like I said earlier, that never put money before relations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something which we've all been. When I say all, it's my brother, our spouses, our children, uh, and this is not just from my father, but also from my grandfather.
Yeah.
I did have the privilege of also learning from him in the early years, and this is something that I think everybody in the family has kind of internalized, that
Mm-hmm.
you do not place money before relations.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the one
Well,
big.
yeah. I want to ask that question in a different way. Anything that, since you're taking over running the business, you thought that I should change or do it in a different way?
I think that's not a fair question, Jam, because no, I'll tell you why. Because when he built the business and when he scaled up, it was a different time. The challenges were different,
Yep. Yep.
and so there was a need for him to do things in a certain way. We are the products of a different time,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's natural for us to look at things in a different way. And for example, just to put that in perspective, uh, let's talk about computerization or technology and
Mm.
AI.
Yeah.
I think more about integrating all of that into daily work.
Yeah.
But when my father was building the business, a computer was meant to just do certain calculations, maintain
Yeah.
accounts, print
Documentation.
spreadsheets,
Yeah.
documentation, and maybe it was like, let's say, a glorified typewriter in
Yep.
some way. And so his struggles and his challenges and his environment and his world were different.
Absolutely.
And so there is a natural evolution to things, and we all evolve. There is a demand from the market, the customer, the consumers, which force us to change certain things. And there is there is a vision to the future
Yep.
which helps guide us. Uh, when he was building things, it's possible that the visibility was not that long.
Hmm.
Today we are able to see that AI is going to make a substantial impact in the way we do things. Uh, yeah, so that uh, I'm going to again defer to the fact that it's not a fair question.
And
Yeah.
how do you balance that, right? Because you're taking over, a family legacy business. How do you balance legacy and innovation?
So there are, let's. So I think legacy in some ways is what do you really hold dear to you. Let's say the core
Mm.
uh, beliefs and things which are non-negotiable. So when we talk about that, there are essentially certain no-go areas in terms of what we will not do, uh, what we will not risk, reputation, relationships, uh, etc. And that kind of really forms the core of what we believe in. And even if it means growing slower, uh, giving up certain projects because they do
Mm.
not fall within these guidelines, so be it. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
it is a longer term play. It
Mm.
is, we have to at the end of the day live with ourselves. We've given up businesses because certain aspects of this business did not sit well with us. Uh, and I think that in some ways continues to drive our
Mm.
legacy.
Mm.
Uh, I'm still at a very early stage to talk about legacy, but when we talk about that with context to my father and what he has built and my grandfather and what he's left
Mm.
us,
Mm.
there are certain things which are absolutely non-negotiable, and these are some of those.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
And
what was the other balancing part of your question you mentioned?
legacy and innovation.
So again, so innovation does not have to conflict with legacy, right?
Mm.
So we innovate in the normal course of things. Who would have thought that sitting thousands of kilometers away, we'll be having this chat? That's a part of innovation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think COVID kind of accelerated the fact that people were very happy to meet online and even strike large deals. In India, it was unthinkable. Even for a half an hour meeting, people expected you to fly hundreds of kilometers or thousands of kilometers and sit across the table and do it. But it suddenly becomes so comfortable that, well, and your client will tell you, oh, you don't have to travel. It doesn't matter. Let's do it on Zoom or let's do it on
Yeah.
Teams. That's a part of innovation. Uh,
Yeah.
your back-end analytics, business intelligence, a lot of those things have now become a part of the systems that we operate. Uh,
Mhm.
so that's innovation. How do we make our workplaces safer for the people who come to work, uh, who leave their families, join us every morning? Uh, it's not like they're in the army going to fight wars. They're not putting their lives at stake. And that's not something that
Mm.
we are comfortable living with. So, how do you innovate with respect to safety? How do you innovate with respect to efficiency? How do you innovate with respect to,
Mhm.
let's say, making the planet greener? Today, we've installed close to 10 megawatts of rooftop solars across our
Wow.
plants, and this does not have to conflict with legacy,
Yeah.
because again, you are making the world a better place. You're making it safer for the people that come and work with you. You are ensuring that they go back to their families safe and healthy. Uh, and so yeah, so there are. I think I think they're not in conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Uh,
I love that answer.
yeah.
And I totally agree with you. And one thing that you mentioned there as a non-negotiable was relationships, and it's come up a few times. And I'd love for you to share, based on your experience and what you've seen from your father and grandfather, what are some of the core fundamentals to creating and curating strong relationships?
I think I think Dylan, uh, humans are we are creatures of communities, and it's not what you say, it's what you do, right?
Mm.
If you act in a certain way, people around you know. We oftentimes live in that bubble where we think, oh, somebody will not come to know if I do something. But I think that's a complete fallacy, because it's such a small connected world that your actions do get out. Just to give you an example, I was talking about safety at the workplace. Uh, it's so easy for me to go into the shop floor without the proper
Mhm.
protective equipment, right? And and I can take an excuse and say that, oh, I didn't have time, or I was in a hurry, and what's the big deal? But then that message goes to the team and say that, oh, suddenly its rules are different for him and it's different for us. All right. So when
Yeah.
I am then next time I'm telling them that I need you to be properly protected, they'll say, oh, but you don't do it.
Yeah.
And even if they don't say it, it comes in their mind. It's a battle which I've lost. So it's not just what you say, it's what you do consistently. And the consistency of it will build the trust, it will build the culture, it will build the values that you want everybody to inculcate. Uh, just me talking about it without following it up,
Yep.
there's
Means
no
nothing.
value. It
No,
means
no,
nothing.
no. Yeah, yeah. I'm quite curious, Harsh. Why did your grandfather or father get into this steel business? Any particular reason?
I'm not sure, but I think, I think, we come from a place in India up north called Haryana.
Uh-huh.
And before my grandfather settled in Calcutta, he did travel around the country a fair bit to work and earn his living and kind of build something. And I'm sure somewhere along that journey, this is the business which he thought he could do. And I think sometimes it's also a network effect. Maybe he built good relationships in this business. He had friends in this business where, you know, encouraged him to get orders and to, let's say manufacture something. And, one thing leads to another. And before you know it, you have a business that you build upon.
Mhm.
Uh, and then of course it gets into the, without knowing or without before we had Warren Buffett give us the terminology for it, the language for it, you kind of get into that zone of competence and you say, this is what I know best, and I want to stick to it because I don't have enough to risk.
Yeah,
And so it becomes a question about protecting your capital, and
yeah,
so you kind of tend to do what you know best. And yeah, so that's
yeah, yeah.
that in my way. I'm sure it's not a satisfactory answer, Jam, but
No, no, no. It's
sometimes it's just one thing that leads to another.
yeah, no. I mean, that's always the case, right? Sometimes when you're starting a business, you don't know where that's gonna go, right? Like so,
Correct.
whatever's
But,
whatever the
but
resources
you
available.
meet good people, you have fun, you make a little money,
Yeah,
and it kind of just snowballs from there. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, one thing I wanted to find out, like you said that raw material come from outside. It, does India produce raw material like iron, things like that, or steel?
of
Yeah,
course.
is that come
So
from the
we
your?
are, if I'm not wrong, we are amongst the largest
Okay.
iron ore producers in the world, highest quality. We do import a fair bit of coking coal from Australia, amongst other
Yeah.
places. And if I'm not wrong, we are the world's second largest steel producer after
Nice.
China. So,
Okay.
uh, and we are growing at a fair bit. So, yeah,
Is it a competitive business to be in, like, value added in?
I
I mean,
think
there are.
uh, you know we are beyond. There was a time where information arbitrage played a big role
Mhm.
in protecting competitiveness. I think we're not in those times anymore. No business will make money just because somebody else doesn't know about it.
Yeah. True.
So the businesses have to learn to build on their strengths, what they do best, and it is every business is a competitive environment. I mean, you
Mhm.
are in logistics and distribution, And to say that's not competitive is being unfair to you. Because tomorrow, if you take it for granted that nobody else can enter the business for whatever reason, and
Yeah.
it's sunset.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you fight for it every day, you build competencies, you build in efficiencies, and your customers love that about you, and therefore they work with you.
Yeah. So how do you differentiate yourself against your competitors?
Well, that's something you'll have to ask my customer for one. But like I'm going to go back to one of my earlier answers, and I say, one, we take a very long-term view on investments.
Uh-huh.
We are not looking to make a quick buck or penny on every deal. We understand that it's a cyclical landscape. It's a very, very difficult world out there. And so our customers have their own challenges. And we will stand with them in whatever way that we need to. And if you are doing the right thing, if you are building efficiencies, if you are not trying to, let's say, scam or cheat the customer,
Hmm.
uh,
Doing the right
you
thing.
will make
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So instead of, uh, I'm looking at the money part of it as a lag indicator.
Hmm.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
The lead indicator in some ways is doing certain things right
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
And then, the money is a lag indicator. You can't start with money.
Mm. Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not sure whether I'm clear, but I
No,
hope
no, I
I've been
I
able
get
to
what you're
explain
saying.
that.
So it's more your focus, not transactional, more relationship,
Correct.
long term.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
And because of that, Jan, we have been given opportunities uh, to set up plants, to be a part of that process, to be a part of that wonderful organization supply chain,
Hmm.
which continues to help us. We've been handheld by them into technologies. We've been, trained, nurtured by them, and we've had the benefit of learning and inculcating a lot of that.
Hmm.
And I'm sure they do that with all their vendors. Uh, what differentiates us in that way is we are very serious about the learning aspect.
Hmm.
So we will not just pay lip service to it, but when we talk about, let's say, even safety, uh, we will do and go beyond what is mandatory
Yeah.
because safety matters to us.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And Harsh, I want to go to a point that you mentioned earlier, which is, heavy industry can be, quite a polluting, industry. So I want to know what you guys are doing. You mentioned solar before. I'd love to know what sort of kind of sustainable initiatives that you guys are implementing.
So of course, solar is a easy one. Uh, for example, all our plants are now moving to a zero liquid discharge. We try to recycle as much of our wastewater and liquids as we can. Beyond what vaporizes, we pretty much capture everything else and recycle and use it. Across our plants, our facilities, we have over the last few years planted more than, let's say, 2 or 3 thousand trees, which not only provide shade and everything else, but also a lot of the fruits and vegetables that come from these plants are consumed at the plant level by the people who work there. Uh, so uh, we have managed in the last, of course, and a lot of these things are helped with technology because it's now available and more economically viable to uh, to install electrical equipments which are more efficient.
Mm.
And so, the same facility may be using lower power or have a lower carbon footprint. So the one side of the equation is actually putting the solar panels, which help us generate a certain amount of green electricity. But on the other hand, we are also looking at can you do the same process with lower power input
Yeah.
or a more efficient power input. And continue to, so we have teams, for example, we created this innovation lab on the inside of our organization where The teams are basically working constantly to look at these things, right? What is possible for us today? How can we make, let's say, the people who work with us not just safer, but how do we make them less tired when they are doing the work so that they can do it more efficiently?
Yeah.
So it's not just, I think there are multiple uh, facets to this conversation. One is, of course, good for the planet, green, and everything else, but there is also the facet of good for the people.
Yeah.
How do you make your workspace, how do you make the air cleaner, how do you make the water cleaner, how do you ensure that they are safer at workplace, how do you ensure that they learn and grow and become better at what they do. And sometimes there's that argument of, oh, we train our people so much and then they leave. But the counter to that is, imagine if you don't train them and they stay. So, so, so the it's that constant improvement every day.
Yeah, yeah. So apart from sustainability, technology, do they play a big role in your organization, especially with the steel processing?
So, of course, I mean, see, one of the challenges with us, and I'm sure with every organization, even yours, Jam,
Yeah,
is people get better with time.
yeah.
All right. So as they continue to do certain tasks, they get better at it. Uh, how do you ensure that this learning and this improvement is passed on from team to team, from generation to generation? And so bringing in new people, giving them on-site, let's say mentoring, giving them people to handhold and accelerating their learning journey becomes important.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and Harsh, I'm fascinated by India as a whole, right? It is, one of the fastest growing economies, and I'd love to get your insider perspective on what do you think India is doing right that other countries should look towards India and try and implement those strategies.
So your father was in India a few months back. So I think Dylan, from and this is a very serious answer, jokes aside,
Hmm.
but take a few weeks off and travel here,
Hmm.
because it'll be unfair to say there is one or two things that India is doing right.
Yeah.
And it's not about doing right now. It's who we are. It's where we've come from. Uh, for us, diversity, acceptance of different views, thoughts is a given.
Hmm.
Uh, we are very comfortable arguing on multiple uh, facets, and absolutely fine with your line of thought and my line of thought. We may not agree.
Yeah.
We both have our own opinions, and that's absolutely fine.
Hmm.
So, at a very fundamental level, I think, you know, uh, that is India.
Hmm.
Different languages, different cultures, different foods, different thoughts, different histories, uh, different beliefs, and yet somewhere it all works. It clicks.
Hmm.
There is, uh, and so I don't think it's fair for me to put that one or two things that we do because of which it clicks.
Yeah.
It clicks, and therefore, we do what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, yeah.
I think even if you look at our government's response uh, in the last few years of the various conflicts and everything, there are certain things that we've maintained. One, uh, there has to be peace through dialogue. There is no alternative to dialogue. We cannot get to a place where we are not willing to speak. We have to talk and find it and work it out. The other is that when our government stood with Russia, the signal was very clear that we will not let go of old relationships in the face of all the criticism and all the backlash and everything else. Uh, USSR and then Russia have been friends for the last 50, 60, 70 years. When nobody else in the world economy was supporting us, Russia supported us.
Hmm.
So to take a short-term view of that and say that, oh, because today there is a conflict where Russia is on one side, we will kind of abandon them. We will not. We have our relationships with. Uh, Yesterday, we signed a free trade agreement with Europe, and what I found very interesting was that one of our longest serving defense relationships is with Russia. And yesterday, we signed a defense and cooperation pact with EU. And EU and Russia are fundamentally at loggerheads.
Yeah.
So, what is it that India does that allows us to have relationships with Israel and Iran, with Russia and the US, with Japan and with China, with EU and with Russia? What is it that India does?
Having that open mind, right?
So we are very okay with you having your beliefs and your opinions. Please allow us the freedom to do the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really fascinating take from the inside, and I'm glad I asked that. But I want to dig into it a little bit more in terms of like manufacturing specifically, because I've seen a lot more manufacturing is happening within India. Is there anything like in particular that's driving that growth?
So India is a fairly large market. Uh, in terms of consumer markets, we are probably uh, pure numbers. I think we're probably the largest. We've got a very young and growing population. We've got a very aspirational youth, which means that as incomes grow, we want better things. There are more iPhones, smartphones being sold, tablets, cars, everything. Households are going from manually washing clothes to washing machines, from drying clothes on a string line to dryers. And a lot of the manufacturing earlier used to happen overseas and was imported, right? And therefore, the cost or the price of these things on the consumer side was substantially higher. I think what the government has managed to do in the last few years through various initiatives and schemes is to bring a lot of manufacturing uh, in-house within India with a simple view of making ourselves more uh, self-reliant and less dependent on international supply chains. And we are seeing how that's playing out today, right, with trade deals and everything else. Why didn't it happen before? I don't know why it's happening now. I think one of the reasons is that the government support in terms of production-linked incentives and just that little bit of support in terms of taxation, simplifying the logistics, simplifying the tax structure, uh, very very proactive production-linked incentives going forward uh, gives the manufacturers that comfort that there is a safety net. Uh, and the the potential of the market was never in question.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's all about creating that right environment for any business to
Correct.
kind of grow. I mean, that's what I see India's doing really, really well. And Harsh, I want to go back to more talk about you. I know you're a continuous learner, and you're doing a lot of things to learn more. And do you have a mentor or someone that you look up to?
There are there are lots of people actually uh, that I lean on from time to time. Uh, as much as of a cliche it may sound, but I think my father remains my
Hmm.
first go-to person. Uh, and I think I've been very lucky in the sense that you know the relationship between us is not purely that of a father-son, though in our context, in our culture, it's a very hierarchical, black and white kind of a relationship. I think
Yeah.
I've been lucky in the sense that he's made it a lot softer and friendlier. So, providing me with the freedom to actually ask and talk about various things with him. So he, of course, remains my number one go-to. But there are things that I learned from my brother. There are things that I learned from my spouse. There are things that I learned from my mother, my father-in-law, my aunts, uncles. There are various people at business, at work. Uh, Jam, I learned from you to have fun and to not take life so seriously. Uh, and so, as you go along, you meet people. I think it's essential to keep that mind open and just absorb the best from all.
So you talked about habits, right? Do you have a like a routine, like a daily habit that you normally do? Do you have?
So my number one daily routine is I don't like fast mornings.
Mm.
So typically, the first 2 hours, 2.5 hours of the day are very slow. So I have my warm water, my green tea, my coffee, whatever else. Read the papers. Maybe at some point, of course, I'll be lying if I say I don't check my email. But they're fairly relaxed. My kids leave for school at 7:30 a.m. I want to be there when they leave. Time permitting, if they are not in a hurry and not late, chat with them for 10 minutes. Uh, so that's my morning routine.
Mm.
Uh, I do not like to stay at work beyond what is essential. So
Mhm.
typically, my work day will end between 5 and 6. I like to be home, have an early meal, and then again spend time with the kids, the family. Maybe we have some social engagements, but and 8 hours of sleep at least. So that's
Mhm.
something which is very important to me. I know Jam doesn't understand that, but for me it's very important. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, I do. There are certain things which are currently holding me back, but I do intend to get back to my health side, which I miss a little bit right now. So
Mhm.
yeah,
And Harsh, you mentioned your kids there. I'd love to know, are
yeah.
there any specific lessons or values that you're trying to teach them or impart on them?
So you know, a lot of the things that we've spoken about,
Mm.
of the things that we learned from our parents and grandparents, uh, again, and I spoke about uh, behaving in a certain way because they will learn more from behavior than what I try to teach them through, let's say, lectures and such. Um, I think it's important to for kids growing up to know that they have an open line of communication with you.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
can talk to you about anything, and they will have their own struggles and their own fights and their own, dilemmas. But if ever in doubt, we are here. So I think one of the things that we've tried very hard to ensure is that make it clear to the children that we are always here for you.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, you don't need to lie. You don't need to kind of hide things from us. Uh, and it's a much easier life if you tell the truth. The other
Absolutely.
person may or may not like it right now when you tell the truth, but it will make your life easier. And I'm sure
Mhm.
the other person will also appreciate that in due course.
Mm.
So there are these basic simple things that we try to live by, and I hope
Mm.
my children understand that.
Do you expect them to join your business?
I mean, I have three, so I've kind of hedged my bets. Uh,
True.
and my brother has two, so actually between us we
Okay.
have five. So at
Five.
least two of the five should join and continue to manage and run. But of course, it's jokes aside, it's at the end of the day, it's their call here. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that this is something that interests them because when they are here during their vacations, uh, they do actively take part. They go to the factories, they learn, they spend time on the shop floor,
Nice.
and it's not just about going to office and kind of being the boss's child.
Mhm.
So it's good to see them doing that.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier, Harsh, you wanted to make sure that the future is ready for the next generation to sort of take your business. What are your plans?
So not take our business, but have a business for them to kind of grow their spurs on, or on their
Mm.
spurs. Our plans. So what we currently do in terms of the current form of our business will continue to grow organically. I think it's in a place where Vivek, my brother, and me will continue to manage it in the way that we manage it. Uh, there are new businesses that we are setting up.
Mm.
Eventually, I guess between Vivek and me and our children, we will have to figure out who's interested in doing what, and how things pan out. Uh, Vivek and me have kind of found that equilibrium where we know what each of us does best.
Yeah.
Uh, the kids yet to uh, find that. And so it will be a little premature for me to say this one will do this and this one will do that. But I think eventually with time, either they grow into the business, or we figure out how to manage it. Uh, but it's a little easier. So business today is also easier because of technology.
Yeah.
We are working, and we have worked hard on building teams that uh, ensure that the business is not only dependent on us, uh, but more from a mentoring and guidance and uh, point of view, we are available.
Mm.
Because like our children and their struggles and their dilemmas, wherever you have professional teams, they have pretty much the same thing, right? It's much easier for the owner promoter to take a call than for a professional manager.
Mm.
But you need to give them that comfort and ensure that it's okay, even if they do the right thing and lose a little money, it doesn't matter. But
Mm.
stick to doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and those are comforts which only grow with time.
Mm.
So, uh, so one is to ensure that you build a team which makes the business long-term sustainable, and it's not dependent on the ownership management. And on the other side, you have you will uh, once the children are back from their education, you will create a structure to mentor them and let them learn what they want to do best, which way they can contribute. But one thing is certain is that they will have to go through the rigors of uh, learning from the shop floor and going up.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Yeah. Beyond business, what's next for Harsh?
I like travel. uh, I love my photography. It gives me that little bit of time to myself. So out in the city or wilderness, just me, my camera, uh, no noise. Uh, I love how it allows you, and it's some. I would say it's a form of meditation because it allows you to
Yeah.
think a little deeper and capture things in a certain way which might not be evident to everybody,
Mm.
but you are able to see the beauty even in the most rugged of landscapes and structures. Uh, and so for me, I'm not thinking that much forward. I have yet to decide my university and learning course for this year. So that is the most immediate thinking. But yeah, I mean, I need to get back on my health regimen in the next couple of months. I'm looking forward to a little adventurous travel in the summer, and yeah, I'm enjoying the children growing up and spending time with them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And Harsh, we have a lot of young listeners. Do you have any advice for any young entrepreneurs out there who are just about to make their start, given all your experience?
Dylan, one of the things that I mean, I'm not old enough to give preach to them. I'm not qualified enough to preach to them. But I think one of the things that I see this generation essentially lacking is patience.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something which they should build on. That is something which they should learn. Uh, don't take the easy way out just because it's quick. I I have rarely to see something that patience could not solve. So I think in the world of quick commerce and uh, the need for quick gratification, we sometimes lose sight of the bigger picture in the longer term.
True.
I think it's essential for this generation to cultivate those habits early because they will hold them in good stead for the long term.
Good
So
advice.
yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah, fantastic advice. And I suppose, Harsh, looking back on this incredible journey that we've spoken about, given your definition of success was largely around, building strong connection, happiness, and also, trying to contribute. Do you feel successful?
Of course, I feel successful, but I also have a belief that the best is yet to come.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you, Harsh. But I
And I'm
suppose,
looking forward to seeing you in India.
yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. And throughout this conversation, I've been trying to jot down some of the traits which I think you embody, which have been, critical to leading you to where you are today. And I'd like to share them with you. The first one is definitely your hunger to learn. And you even mentioned that yourself, always every year looking for some new course to do, something which can further that knowledge in your mind. And I think it's more than courses as well. It's the people that you associate with, and you're always looking with that open mind of who can I learn from. And I think that's a really important trait, not having that ego to say, those people on the shop floor, I can't learn anything from them. Just always having that open mind is, I think, really important. The next one is being incredibly relationship driven. I think you probably said relationship like 100 times in that conversation. And I think it's a critical part, right? Especially in business, is how do you build strong relationships and that trust for enduring relationships and doing things for the right reason, I think is why you've built such strong relationships. And then the last one is you're very action orientated. And you said a quote in there which I love, which is, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And I think that's such a fundamental thing, always trying to be that role model and actually do what you say you're going to do. And actually, maybe one more, if I can add one more, it's you're values driven. There was a lot about ethics in there and doing things for the right reason. And I think that's a really important trait. As you mentioned, people now are chasing that quick profit, but your mindset is more about doing things for the right reason. And then, money may follow, but do it for the right reason first.
And also, Harsh, just to add to that Dylan's list, you're a very logical thinker. Like, even some of the very open-ended questions that we ask, you answered in a way. It's very, very logically you answered. Like, I know you're a creative person, but also you're quite logical, and the way that you take time to really understand and then the answer. So that's what I experience knowing
But
you.
that jam I only know because this is being recorded, and I don't want to be caught on the wrong foot.
No, that's really good. I mean, I quite like your answers. What you given, like, yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, Dylan, jokes aside, I think India, the best way to learn about India is to experience it
Yep,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
and experience it at leisure. When your parents were here, it was a bit of a quick run trip,
Yeah,
and they experienced an aspect of it which was not normal, really,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was curated, it was handcrafted, so to say.
yeah,
But to really experience India, travel in the trains, take flights, go to the ashrams, sail down rivers, eat local food. Of course, if your belly allows you, but India is really all about experiencing all of these different facets.
absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah,
looking forward to having you here.
yeah, I'll have to get over there soon. And Harsh, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been fantastic. And for our listeners, if you've gotten something out of today's episode, it would mean the world if you can like and subscribe. It helps us to get to more and more ears. And you can see all of our inspirational content over at our website, thequestforsuccesspodcast.com. And with that, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Jan. Pleasure.